Who will beat Alabama in 2021? That's a good one right there. Let's go. What's going on, guys? It's me, Golden Blue Dude, here with you again. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I do videos every single day. So the question for me is not if Alabama is going to lose a game in 2021. It's who will beat Alabama in 2021. The reason I think Alabama will lose at least one game in 2021 is because they lose pretty much all of their offensive production. They lose quarterback Mac Jones. They lose running back Najee Harris. They lost wide receiver Devontae Smith. They lost wide receiver Jalen Waddle. And, oh yeah, they lost their offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian. Alabama is Alabama, and Alabama will reload. We all know that. But with losing that much and even your offensive coordinator, it will take an adjustment period. Who will take advantage of that adjustment period? Well, to answer that question, we have to look at Alabama's schedule. The first game on the schedule is Miami, and most people are handing this game to Alabama. That's not a good idea. Don't do that. Miami is returning most of their offensive production. They did lose tight end Brevin Jordan to the NFL, but they got wide receiver Charleston Rambo, a transfer from Oklahoma, a great wide receiver. Almost an even swap. Not quite, but almost. He's a good wide receiver. The biggest question for me as far as Alabama versus Miami in Atlanta is D'Eriq King. How healthy will D'Eriq King be? If he can get close to 100%, Miami definitely has a chance to beat Alabama. They do need to fix some things on defense. I'm not going to pretend like their defense is fine. It's not. They have to figure that out. But with Alabama losing all of that offensive production, that gives Miami a chance. Just a small margin of error. But that's enough to pull off an upset. Then there's Mercer. That's a win. At Florida, that's a win. Florida lost probably more than Alabama, and we saw what Dan Mullen did with all that talent at Florida. Still ended up with 3 losses in a 10-game season. Yeah, Florida's going to be a mess. If they get to a bowl, they'll be lucky. Then there's Southern Miss. That's a win. And then the 2-game gauntlet. This is where things get interesting. They get Ole Miss at home, so that helps. But Ole Miss has a great offense. The problem for Ole Miss is their defense is bad as well. But with all those new faces at Alabama, maybe Alabama makes some mistakes and Ole Miss can capitalize. You never know. After that, they go to Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M did lose Kellen Mond, and Kellen Mond was a decent quarterback. But losing Kellen Mond isn't make or break. And they have that great running back coming back. So Texas A&M has a shot to beat Alabama. Yes, they do. They'll have a great defense coming back. And with Alabama having a new offensive coordinator, that's the big thing. People are not thinking about that. They realize that Alabama lost a lot of key players on offense, but they lost their offensive coordinator. That matters. Then at Mississippi State, not worried about that. Home against Tennessee, definitely not worried about that. And the next game, don't forget about LSU. LSU is going to be up and coming in 2021. They had a disappointing season in 2020. I think LSU is going to be back with a vengeance. And then they end the season home against New Mexico State, home against Arkansas. Arkansas will be better, but that won't be a problem. And then at Auburn, won't be a problem. It is on the road, and it is a rivalry game, so it could potentially be tricky. But Auburn is just not very good right now. So the teams you need to watch for: Miami, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and LSU. Who has the best chance out of all those? Well, it comes down to one player, and I've already said it: D'Eriq King. If D'Eriq King is 100%, I do think Miami has the best chance to beat Alabama. It's the first game of the year. All those new players, yes, Alabama reloads, and they're 5 stars, and they're great. But there's a difference in speed from high school to college. That first game is an adjustment. If Miami can take advantage in that first game, Miami does have the best chance of beating Alabama. But don't forget about Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and LSU. The schedule for Alabama isn't horrific, but there are some teams that could potentially upset the Crimson Tide. I do think Alabama can get back to the playoffs. Problem is, if they lose one game in the regular season and then they play Georgia in the SEC title, I think Georgia is going to be better than Alabama. I think Georgia is good enough to beat Alabama. So if that happens, Alabama could potentially miss the playoffs. Remember, Georgia returns their entire offense back. They are going to be the best offensive team in the SEC in 2021. The big question is, can Bryce Young adjust quick enough to keep Alabama in the playoff hunt? We're going to find out in 2021. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.